I want to thank the Honourable Member for Scullin. The question is that the address be agreed to, and I call the Honourable Member for Wright.
I thank you, Mr Speaker, and it's a privilege to be able to stand in this place for the third term of serving the good people of my electorate of Wright, the Gold Coast hinterland, a beautiful part of Queensland, an absolute picturesque electorate, taking in Lamington National Park, Gold Coast hinterland, the glorious Tamborine Mountain and the surrounding communities that reside close to that. Mr Speaker, can I suggest that my electorate is extremely diverse in its outlook, ranging from some of the most richest fertile valleys in the world, the seventh most fertile valley in the world in the way of the Lockyer Valley, where we produce food. We produce vegetables for the eastern seaboard and the Australian table, mostly vegetables, brassica families, the cauliflowers, the broccolis, the corn, which is not a brassica, broccolini, onions, carrots, country that can yield up to 20 tonne an acre, potatoes 20 tonne an acre, onions 15 tonne an acre. It is such a beautiful, rich agricultural precinct. And then you have the surrounding communities, in the middle of it, in the way of the Fassifern valleys, communities like Arachula, that if you're ever driving on the Cunningham Highway, Mr Speaker, and you're leaving from Brisbane to go to Warwick, never take the opportunity to drive past the Arachula Bakery and pull in and get yourself a beautiful Arachula pie, or stop at the Arachula Butcher, who's always open on a Sunday, Mr Speaker, always open on a Sunday, and pick up that Sunday family roast. I am so proud and so privileged to be able to serve the people of Wright. This is my 7th year in this place, and I am not here. This is not just a result of the efforts that I have made. It is a team effort that allows me to return to this place. And what I've learnt in the 7 years that I have had the privilege, the absolute privilege of being able to serve the people of my electors of Wright, is that this place, the Australian Parliament, is filled with some incredible talent on both sides of the House, Mr Speaker. It is unfortunate that too many Australians see the Australian political landscape through a very short window of opportunity that they have to witness the Australian Parliament. And unfortunately, they make that decision of how we perform here by watching a snippet of time which we refer to as question time. Can I assure the Australian public and the electors of Wright that is not the norm? That is happy hour. That is the theatre. It is the gladiatorial bluster that happens for the cameras. But the real work is done in the committees. The real work is done when the cameras are turned off. And if only the Australian public could see the bipartisanship that sits in this place and how much work actually gets done. The former member for Scullion sits on a committee on electoral matters that I sit with. It's never going to be newsworthy when they sit and watch the work that we do in there, but we influence the direction of a country, and if only people could see that, the work that gets done behind the closed doors. Some of the other committees, Public Works. More recently, I tabled some documents in the House, no less than $1.3 billion worth of funding that we've invested into this country, into public servants, refits for officers, whether it be for defence, immigration or others, all done bipartisanly with the support of the government, the support of the opposition, in conjunction with the Senate. That is how our parliament works. That is the truth. But no, when people aren't going to back up to buy tickets to that, it's not sexy when they see the place working well. People back up and buy tickets because they want to see the gladiatorial blood on the ground at question time and then complain about the way that we perform. They complain, Mr Speaker, and they will say that we'll be childlike, and if it was a school environment that we'd be punished for our behaviour, and rightfully so for their comments. Rightfully so, Mr Speaker. When I have the opportunity, on the rare occasion, to spend time with my constituents in a pub, it's a great leveller. They will often say, you are childlike. And they will say to me openly, you're a good bloke. We like the way that you work for us. You work hard, you get out of bed early, you go to bed late. But the same person who will hold you in high regard, when they speak about politicians in the collective, they will group us all up and suggest that we have our nose in the trough and that we are less than trustworthy. And that is one of the challenges that I hope that, you know, in my time that I'm here and with the return on investment, that I can turn a few Australians or a few people in my electorate's mind that there are some incredibly talented people in this place. When you talk politicians collectively, the first thing that should come to your mind is incredibly hardworking and disciplined. And I tell you what, if you're not a hardworking politician, you're not going to get re-elected, full stop. There is only one way for success, and this is, if you're going to stick around this place, you need to get out of bed early, you need to go to bed late. You need to work weekends, and you need to you need to be connecting with your electorate. And Mr. Speaker, if you are not, you will be treated harshly for it. You will be treated harshly for it. Mr. Speaker, it is an absolute privilege for me to serve in this place. I walked up to the House this morning, Mr. Speaker, and it's a different ambience from when you drive your car up or you come up. But when you walk up, I was on the phone to my brother and I said to him, this is my 7th year in this place, and there is not a day that I do not walk to this place that I am not filled with a sense of pride when I look up on a beautifully clear day and see our flag at full flight, and I feel an immense sense of pride. Not because of the building that I'm going to work in is one of the most stunning pieces of architecture in Canberra, but I'm filled with a sense of pride. I'm filled with a sense of pride. I'm filled with a sense of pride because I know when I get to the dispatch box, whether it be in this chamber, Mr. Speaker, or in the other chamber, that I can enter into a debate rationally, in a safe environment, without fear of my own safety, as every member in this place can do, and knowing that hopefully we're influencing the direction of this country to be in a better place tomorrow than what it was today. That is all of our intentions. And it is my hope that as Australians we get to break down those barriers of this negativity that's around politicians. I'd love a survey, I'd love some statistics to be done on what we would actually get paid if we would calculate an hourly rate and then apply penalty rates and then overtime to it as to what that hourly rate would look like. I suggest that I would like to be on I'd like to be on any hourly rate that anyone would nominate for me. But you know what? I'm fortunate. I would probably do this job. I would do this job for nothing. It is a privilege. I don't know if I'd want to do this job forever for nothing, because it takes an incredible toll on your family. The time that politicians in this place, Mr. Speaker, spend with their community is at the sacrifice of the time that you would spend with your loved ones, your daughter, your family, your brothers, your sisters. And I want to acknowledge my contribution that my family make, and my extended family. My mum, I had the opportunity, we grew up in a very humble household, and you know, one of 4 brothers and sisters, single income household on a widow's pension. And can I suggest that I had the opportunity to take my mum into one of the air lounges in a capital city the other day, and she thought she was a queen. She thought it was a queen, and I felt so privileged to be able to expose her to that, because outside a political life we would never have had that opportunity. Yes, we used to fly a lot in our own transport operations, but never at the front end of the plane. And so I suppose coming from a humble background, you do appreciate the trimmings that this office holds. Closer to my electorate, Mr. Speaker, I'm proud of some of the things that we are doing in the electorate. The largest piece of inland road infrastructure in Australian history is happening as we speak in my electorate, and I speak no other of the Toowoomba Second Range Crossing, well in excess of a $1 billion project. And for many years, my electorate was saying, when's the range crossing? We're sick of hearing about it. We're sick of hearing it. We're delivering it. Construction is underway. Dozers are working, and we will have traffic on that road hopefully within 2 years. The NBN is rolling out, and again, the NBN was the child of the opposition, the then opposition who was in government. We tweaked it, and the debate as to whether or not it's better or not, or cheaper, or roll out. But you know what, I think Australians would appreciate a little bit more honesty, and I don't think we would be judged poorly for occasionally offering compliment to good policy when it's needed, rather than opposing for the sake of opposing. You know, people can smell, and excuse me, people in my electorate can smell bullshit coming a mile away. And they will resonate to sincerity. And I think if politicians, if we can be seen to have a softer heart, a less agitated, always confrontational, spirit, I think we would just get more done in this place. And I think there's a desire for us to achieve more. But unfortunately, if it bleeds, it leads in the press. People want to see that gladiatorial conflict, whether it be two opposing members of this place at 7 o'clock in the morning on news feeds. Virtually whole networks in the way of government networks allocated to political commentary. And often the stuff that flashes up down the bottom is the bad news. There is a lot of good news that happens in the place, a lot of good news. Some of the other work that's happening here, which I'm proud of, is the work that I do as a government backbencher. A government backbencher in my capacity as Secretary to the Economics Committee and Secretary to the Agricultural Committee, where we scrutinise bills that go before Cabinet. That committee will be meeting tonight, and will be again influencing the direction of the country through some of the work that we do there. I also just want to have a quick give the Speaker a quick update on some of the work I do with an organisation that I call A50, the Australian Economic Forum. And 50 is representative of 50 people from around the world who influence the Australian markets. So I invite, in conjunction with Tom Murphy, who was, he started off on the Merrill Lynch desk out of New York, an Australian. Used to play rugby for the Brumbies, actually. How's that? Can play rugby and smart and rich. Yeah, so Tommy and I got together and we thought we'd pull together this A50. So the 50 is representative of 50 people, 20 are the largest buyers in the Australian market. So we bring the buyers in from the Australian stock market, we bring the buyers in equities, debt, trade, short money, long money, superannuation, hedge funds from around the world. So we're bringing from the UK, Middle East, Europe, America, Canada, Asia, 20 of the top buyers, and we'll stick them next to 20 of the top CEOs in Australian listed companies, the banks, the Caltex, the BHPs, the Rios, the AMPs. We book a room at the Opera House, we put these guys in it, and the remaining 10, we stick the top 10 regulators of the country in the room so that they hear the one story. And those regulators look like the Prime Minister, the Treasurer, the Trade Minister, the Reserve Bank Governor, Foreign Investment Review Board Chairman, ASIC Chairman, ACCC, and a number of other regulators. And we sell a simple message, that Australia is open for business. And I make an effort to pull that group together, and we've done it for the second year in a row, and it's extremely successful. Because my people in my electorate need security into their future. And Australia being a net importer of funds, and when I'm in the pub and people will say to me, why would you invest so much time in that? How does that affect me? Well, any one of my people in the electorate who have a superannuation fund, when their superannuation fund, the value of it is going south, it is mostly because those 20 guys are pulling their money out of Australia and it's taken the value off. So I add value to their superannuation funds when I can convince those that invest in our markets that Australia is a good bet. It's a good short-term bet, it's a good long-term bet, and for them to continue to stay here. So there was money looking to leave the Australian markets in the downturn of the resources sector. So when we can convince these guys, I mean, we did a back-of-the-envelope calculation of the 20 that were in the room, the net funds under management from that 20 was in the vicinity of $17 trillion. That's what these guys bring to our economy. That's why it's important for me and Tom Murphy to spend time talking to those companies, letting them know that Australia is a place to invest in the future and that we are a good bet. Mr. Speaker, I can talk about projects that in our electorate, and members during their address and reply speech will do that. But really, electorates expect members to deliver projects. You're not going to get re-elected because of the size of the projects you put. You're going to get re-elected if you can connect with your electorate. You're going to get re-elected if you can empathise and you can truly believe what your electors' concerns are and do your best to address them. And you know what? So often in this place we become consumed with issues that we believe are important to our electorates. But when you go back and you sit in that pub, in my pubs, they weren't talking about gay marriage. They weren't talking about Section 18C. You know, it's so easy to become distracted because a journalist sticks a microphone in front of your face as you're walking into this place, which we refer to as the doors, and will ask you something obscure that happened, you know, in the last 12 hours as if it's the most important thing to them. It's not important to our people at home, to the people we love, to the people that we represent. You know, what's important to them is security. Making sure that, you know, that they have enough money in their pockets so that they can live a comfortable and safe existence. Now, what's important to them is, you know, making sure that they've got that there's an environment, an economic environment, where they can get a better price for their product at farm gate today than what they were getting yesterday. And unfortunately, that's not often the case. In particular, I have a number of dairy farmers in my electorate. It's a beautifully rich country. At the other end of the scale, my cattle market is extremely buoyant. You know, my cattle boys are performing well. I have three major selling yards: Silverdale sale yards, the Bow Desert sale yards, and then Boona. Cattle are going off extremely strongly at the moment. Our grain prices are strong. I have some of the most beautiful country. So, Mr. Speaker, in closing, I would not be here if it wasn't for the incredible generosity of so many people in my electorate, of the LNP, the Secretariat, but I want to acknowledge my staff. It would humour the House to know that of the personal staff that I have, I was fortunate to celebrate my birthday this week on the 27th. My Chief of Staff also celebrates his birthday on the 27th. My constituent officer, Alice Warby, also turning 70. Alice, I shouldn't have told the world that, but happy birthday on the 27th for you. It's as if that you cannot get a job in my office unless your birthday is on the 27th of March. Greg Birkbeck, thank you for the work you do for me. You've been with me since day one, and I think that's a sign of the way that, you know, the respect that I have for you. Alice Warby has been with me since day one, our third term, again because of the trust that I show in her, just the solid nature of the way that she has my back. More recently coming on to staff is Rochelle Richards, formerly Rochelle Maloney. You know, Rochelle was my first PA when I first started my transport business back in 1992, and, you know, again has come back after having 3 children to work with me, and, you know, that humbles me. You know, her father used to work for me in the transport business for some nearly 20 years. My PA, Joey Dempsey, an incredibly strong woman, has gone through some hardship, but Jo is just shining every day as she learns more and more and grows in the position. And to all of those within the LNP branches that drag themselves out to attend branch meetings and assist on electoral days, whether it's handing out how to vote cards, manning booths, sticking up posters, too many to mention. But I stand here as a result of your efforts, and in return, I will give everything I have to make sure that I portray back to you some type of confidence that you will elect me again as your candidate at the next election. God bless.